Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to Tokyo Necro. I just took a very short break, went to the bathroom, made some more tea, and I decided to just eat some apples along with a protein shake. Since while I am hungry, I'm not really all that hungry. Mostly just my eyes are visually distracted by some food, you know? But yeah, what happened last time, we went on a date with Kansu. Etika is still not buying the whole thing about Kansu being able to make Etika into a living being again, even though she is still feeling emotions anymore. Or even though she is still feeling emotions. Before that, let me see. Tokitaka almost killed Son. And before that again, Kiri was talking to Etika about the fact that Etika's living dead now. And now, I assume we are in Son's perspective? I'm not sure, actually. I perform maintenance on my re-eliminators. I understand that if I'm going to get area back, I'll have to rely on my X-brain and not on these. But there are some things I can't compromise on. Close quarters armed martial arts are what makes me who I am. If my X-brain is my mother, the re-eliminators are my father. I can't disrespect my partners. I conclude my maintenance, and as soon as I do, my Conry vibrates. It's a message from Kansu.
So...
As I pass through the living room, Etika greets me, seated on the sofa. She has a flavor capsule in her tea, which lets off a faint, calming aroma.
行くのか？
あ、ちょっと。
スーちゃんによろしく。昨日はごめんって謝ってたって。
Kansu said she was going to ask Etika for her assistance yesterday. Given her message, I assume Etika turned her down.
なあ、エチカ。
なんだそう。
僕らはなんで死んだのに生きているんだろう。
真面目か。
Etika chuckles and brings the teacup to her lips. She takes one sip, then another, slowly as if savoring the aroma. She puts the cup back down.
死んだ人間は死んだ人間だ。
That's right, we're not alive anymore, Son.
死んでるやつの人生に意味はない。
Those are the cold, hard facts. But it's rare for Etika to just abide by how things are. It's like our roles have reversed, that's true.
本当にそうなのかな。死んでる僕らの人生に何か意味があるってことは。僕たちにもこのまま感情を持ち続ける希望はないのかな。
私たちには不要さ。
エチカ。
なんだそう。
僕たちは最後まで意見が合わないな。
そうとも限らねえぞ。
Etika grins wide.
私は死んだ人間だ。だから人生に意味はない。私がこうやって生きてることに何かの意味があるなら、多分生きてるやつの人生のためだ。
それが希望か。
Etika nods.
行け、そう。イリアちゃんが待ってる。
I guess Etika's story is done. I guess it's time for our story to conclude too, yeah, Son. I leave the agency with my heart full of hope. Just as I'm about to get into the Kolakanta, a voice stops me.
送ってくよ。
Tokitaka has been waiting for me, apparently.
ハイパーゲットか？
Yeah, this feels like a final, confrontation.
Ah.
I haven't explained the situation to Tokitaka yet, since it's not something that concerns him directly. But I guess he's known me long enough to read my intentions. The car cruises along the intelligent road.
まるで前とは逆だな。エチカが諦めてるのに、お前があがくなんて。
Things are a bit backwards when you put it that way. It's like we're playing each other's roles. I haven't rehearsed for this part. it'll be all ad-lib. Am I cut out for it?
もし失敗したら
成功する。100% 成功だ。
I've learned not to question his numbers.
運命の意図は決して断たれることがない。
I'm so confused though. My friend told me he got Iria's route. But don't you guys feel like this is actually Iria's route? Like what the fuck? I'm actually so confused.
たとえ死が2人を分かつともだ。
だといいんだけどな。
事実だよ、そう。俺は沈みかけのメガフロートでそれを見た。
Ah, Ryoko and Nikatsu.
俺は見たんだ。そう。
Tokitaka emphasizes that point. His gaze fixed forward.
一括さんは涼子さんを愛し続けていた。ガスマスク型のエクスブレインをかぶってな。
He concludes, his voice heavy with conviction. I have to wonder, why did our god return as a living dead? Was it so he could provide the conclusion that the story between him, Tokitaka and Ryoko lacked? I think so. I think he returned to this world for the sake of the living. Or maybe that's also just wishful thinking. Whether or not that's true, The Krellicon comes to a stop in front of Snowbound Nirvana. As I get out of the car, Tokitaka calls out to me.
気に食わないけど嫌いじゃない。イリアを頼むぞ。
分かってる。
With Tokitaka's words driving me forward, I enter the store. I climb up the stairs, one heavy step after another, my non-existent heart pounding in my chest.
コンスいるかな。そううんだ。連絡を受けてきた。どこだ、コンス。
No response. Konsu is nowhere to be seen. I head down to the basement and open the door to the torture chamber.
いらっしゃい。
There she is. She already has everything ready.
コンスメールは見たよ。
確認させてほしい。
She sounds even more nervous than usual.
これはほぼ人体実験に近い。手術をしても成功する確率は五分五分かもっと低いくらいかも。
So what's gonna happen? Are they going to replace my brain with the X brain?
それでもやる覚悟はある。
I still remember what Iria said clearly.
今はそんな君を見るのが辛いの。
It's my fault she's in so much pain. She can't bear to watch me losing my emotions. If there's even the slightest chance of regaining them, I have to take it.
覚悟はできてる。
分かった。
I look at the monitor set opposite of me, which displays overhead footage. I can feel cold metal against my scalp. The ultra-thin blade mows through my hair. Don't worry, I'm always bald every single month, so you're okay with being bald too, Son. Iria looks out upon the fortress from the balcony of her room. The castle walls are a facsimile formed from smart material. The ceiling above projects an image of a blue sky, hiding the dark clouds hanging over Tokyo. Ah! So the blue sky is just an image. I was wondering what those ripples are. So it's just a projection. Everything in this place is fake. Only the cityscape in the distance is real, And even that is a projection with filters applied.
大切な人のことを思っているのかね。
寿一郎。
Iria is generally capable of reading someone's emotions without even having to exchange words with them. But Amachi Juichiro is different. She's incapable of even getting a handle on his basic intentions, no matter how much she converses with him. Perhaps his business ventures have taught him to keep his thoughts guarded at all times.
君はこの城から連れ出されて、いろいろな人間と出会った。おそらくその中で、この城では味わえない様々な経験をしただろう。だが君は、その中で大切な人を失った。私もこの年だ。失ってきたものは人一倍多い。君の気持ちはよくわかるよ。
You can also use this to your advantage, can't you?
その過去を認め、それでもなお前に進もうとするには区切りが必要だ。自分が生きてきた人生には少なくとも何らかの意味があったというその区切りが。だからこの城に来たのだろう。
Iria has lost Son, Ethica, and Ryoko. If she were to lose Subcon on top of that, if she were to betray her trust, she wouldn't be able to live with herself anymore. She has to bring Subcon back no matter what. How can she face herself otherwise? How can she face Son?
物語にピリオドを打つのだ。君が生きてきた物語に意味があることを証明するのだ。
I guess that's true.
それが君の新たな人生の最初の1ページになる。
どうしてそんなに親切にしてくれるの？
私はただサブスタンスコンセプトに夢を見ているだけだ。
夢？
私はもう人間に興味がないのだよ。それはわかるね。
I mean, you being surrounded by robots sure proves your point. Iria nods. Juichiro is obsessed with sexoroids to an abnormal degree. If he weren't, he wouldn't have made a humanoid operating machine as sophisticated as Azaikyousuke.
東京という街に生じたサブスタンスコンセプトという知性。それが人知れず滅びていくのは忍びないのだ。少しでも彼女の役に立ちたいのだよ。
Amachi Juichiro is supporting her. If nothing else, Iria must be grateful for that. He has provided her with direct access to Subcon via a physical cable. No mean feat indeed.
寿一郎、ありがとう。
礼はいらない。その代わり、私にサブコンを見せておくれ。
Juichiro speaks firmly, smiling ever so slightly. Iria does not know the meaning of his smile, but nor does she have the time to dwell on it. Iria returns to her room from the balcony, where Soria Yuka greets her with a gentle smile.
おそらくこれがラストチャンスです。
Ayuka is right. Subcon's presence grows fainter by the day. If this attempt to contact her fails, Subcon will never return. But seeing Ayuka smile makes all of Iria's anxiety melt away.
お茶を用意して待っていますね。
よろしく。
Ayuka helps Syria put on a pair of hologlasses. The tone graph begins to glow brightly. Ayuka places her hand on Iria's. Feeling her there helps Syria gather her thoughts and concentrate. At first, the images shift slowly, frame by frame. But over time, the pace increases. At first, it was possible to discern exactly when one image was transitioning to the next. But now, it's like an uninterrupted flow of information. In the same way that atoms come together to form molecules, which in turn form cells, which in turn form living organisms. Information becomes light. becomes wind, becomes sound. Iria has entered the highway, the world beyond the absolute threshold. She picks out a single strand of information from amid the raging torrent and follows it down a familiar path. It leads her to the internal network of the Tokyo Megafloat, now at the bottom of the sea. It's like a whirlpool of information, more treacherous than the usual currents of the highway. Iria must struggle to keep herself together. Fortunately, she has spent the past several days driving through this network. She can resist, if only barely, the aura of rejection washing over her. Iria shapes the world around her into midnight shores. It took many repeated attempts, but Iria has grasped the quirks of the network and is now able to construct the near-perfect recreation of her masterwork. The only difference is that Subcon isn't appearing. Iria knows she is nearby, that she can hear her pleas, and yet she will not reveal herself.
サブコンイリアだよ。宝行イリア。
Her voice fades into the sound of the waves. She's been attempting to contact Subcon like this for several days now, but Subcon has yet to show herself. Iria introduced Subcon to a human other than herself for the first time in the core of the Tokyo Megafloat. Subcon's agreed to cooperate with mankind for the sake of the Tokyo Rebirth Project. But immediately, after she transferred her consciousness into the Megafloat, Milgram attacked. Her consciousness was cut off from Tokyo's mesh network, and even now, she remains sunken in the depths of Tokyo Bay.
君が私に裏切られたと感じているのはわかる。でもそんなつもりじゃなかったの。お願い、信じて。
No response comes. Only the churning of the ebony tide can be heard. What can she do to make Subcon listen? Iria first met her while she was debugging Midnight Shores. At the time, she was little more than a localized storm of information, without a voice of her own. She possessed no sense of self. Meaningful communication proved impossible. But then, Iria asked for her name. And when she did, the storm gained contours, gradually shaping itself into the form of a girl. Substance Concept. The name of a virtual idol from the 21st century who Iria was fond of. Subcon had selected what she believed to be the ideal form of for communication from among the wealth of information available to her. And so, two girls of different origin met.
私は君と出会えて嬉しかった。君は私の孤独を癒してくれた。私は君が好きだった。好きだったの。今も好き。
Clearly, she said, I like you. I don't know why the localization said that, but okay.
なのに私は君を苦しめて海の底に閉じ込めてそれでそのままお別れなんてそんなことになったら私二度と私を許せないの。
A shiver runs through Iria's body. No, it can't be. Is she really? Iria shakes off the fear and trepidation. She turns to face.
サブコンサブコンサブコンだよね。
Iria places her hands on Subcon's shoulders. This is a virtual environment. No real physical contact is occurring. But even so, Iria can feel her warmth on their fingertips. Her heart is filled with joy.
サブコンだ。来てくれたんだ。ありがとう。
これは何？
Subcon's fingertips gently brush against Iria's cheek.
これは涙だよ。
Iria explains. Subcon is driven by the urge to understand humanity. Iria then is her teacher.
私がさっきサブコンと会えなくなるって思って。
会えなくなる。会えなくなると涙が出るの。
Iria nods.
それはとっても悲しいことだから。
悲しい。
悲しい。
No confusion is visible on Subcon's face. She simply gazes at Iria with empty eyes. Emotion has yet to blossom within her. She cannot yet understand what sadness truly is. But the fact remains that Iria's voice reached her. So surely,
サブコン、君を失いたくないの。私と一緒に来て。
イリア・本当。
Iria came here to restore Subcon's faith in humanity, or mankind. She does not avert her eyes as she answers.
サブコン、聞いて。私は君といることが嬉しい。もっと君と一緒にいたい。もっともっと君の歌声を聞いていたいの。
Iria can almost hear it when she closes her eyes. Subcon's song reverberating throughout the city. The music that brought hope to Tokyo's people. The connection between her and Subcon. As Subcon speaks, a shimmering flicker of emotion dances in her eyes.
私が歌うとイリアは嬉しい。
もちろん私は君の友達だよ。
Subcon glides across the sand of the beach. The space around her distorts in a rainbow-colored swirl. And then, her voice fills the world. Her song is pure emotion. A magic spell that evokes empathy. At first, it was difficult for Iria and Subcon to communicate using language. What closed the distance between them was their creations. A virtual environment and a song. With these, there was no need for words. Iria's enhanced empathy allowed her to discern the meaning of Subcon's song, to feel the emotion hidden in it. It was an ode for midnight shores, an expression of their friendship.
サブコン、
Iria approaches her and extends her hand. Subcon grips her hand in turn. No words are necessary. They can feel each other through their skin, through their bodies, through their hearts. Iria knows that she has regained Subcon's trust.
行くよ。
Iria grips Subcon's hand firmly and raises the two of them into the air. They speed off into the sky, leaving the virtual environment behind. Subcon used to be able to freely traverse the mesh network, but when the megafloat sank, she was physically trapped inside of its network. Or perhaps she was merely content to stay there, to abandon humanity. Either way, Iria has come to take her back. They're headed to the fortress, Amachi's smart material castle. Iria determined it to be the ideal node, the best position from which to draw out Subcon's consciousness and return it to Tokyo's mesh network.
手を離さないで。
Iria pulls on Subcon's core, attempting to pry it from the grasp of the sunken megafloat. The smart material fragments containing her consciousness crawl through the underwater cables, slowly approaching the surface. Iria knows that it's too early to celebrate, but she can't hold back the flood of emotions. Iria's meeting with Yuka, her meeting with Subcon, her meeting with Son, her very life, they all had meaning. There were joys and sorrows, ups and downs, but now she can conclude her story. She can see Son again. A rainbow glimmer comes into view. The network surrounding the fortress is just ahead. Just a little longer.
頑張ってサブコ。サブコ。
Something flickers in Subcon's eyes, but it isn't joy or excitement. A lotus.
はじめまして。サブコン。
What the fuck? It is confusion at the sight of Amachi Juichiro, standing in their way. Son, we need some help here! After seeing Son off, I plop down on the sofa and pat the X-brain on my head. According to Sue, Lemurs gradually takes over the nervous system of humans who have been turned into living dead. But X-brains inhibit that. They can greatly diminish the speed at which one's consciousness degrades. Son's full-face model might need some modifications, but the type I use can easily be left on at all times. But either way, my thoughts on the matter haven't changed. I'm dead. That's just how it is. I've come to terms with it. If Mitsumin were around, your chondri's vibrating, Etika, I wouldn't mind having her finish me off right now. That said... Oh shit, my chondri's vibrating. Took me a while to notice.
さてと、生きてる人間のために行きますか。
I activate my X-brain. The woman I love is waiting for me. Yeah, you heard me. Your girl Etika still knows what love is.
ハローキリネ。エチカちゃん、ごめんね急に。しょうがないよ。さあ乗って。
I opened the Kurlakan's door. Kiri pulled an all-nighter at work. I'm here to give her a ride home. Personally, I'd be more than fine with spending every waking minute with Kiri. But she's a busy woman, especially with Tokyo in a state of disarray like this. So I'm not going to ask her out on a date or anything. I'm sure she's exhausted. I just want to spend time with her. That's all. To be by her side. To share a meal with her. To shoot the shit with her. What the fuck does that mean? To take a bath with her. Okay, maybe not that last one. I can't ask for more. I've thought about why I'm still here, in the world of the living, and I've decided it's so I can provide the last chapter to Kiri's story, to help her write the epilogue. We sit together, the time passing idly by, at least for a while.
エチカちゃん。ちょっとダメだよ、仕事の話は。
Kiri purses her lips. I have a very good idea what she wants to talk about.
うん。でも、聞かせて。
Yeah, looks like my guess was right on the money. I really want her to take a break every now and then, you know?
イリアさんがザ・フォートレスに行ったって本当？ああ、
みつみんに聞いたの？
うん。さっき入り口ですれ違った。さらわれたの？
自分の意思だって彼女は言ってた。もともとザ・フォートレスにいたからって。
I wasn't trying to hide this or anything, so answering isn't a problem per se. But I do kind of feel that Kiri's just learned something she probably shouldn't have. The reason for that is clear.
ザ・フォートレスにはソリアユカもいる。麻生ゆかり。私のお母さん。
Guess this will be your epilogue, Kiri. Kuroshima Michiya mentioned in this video that he entrusted Soria Yuka to Amachi Juichiro. Kiri projects some data on the vehicle's display.
ちょっとダメ。
ごめん、少しだけ。
No convincing her once she's shifted gears. Projected on the display are several dozen layers of information pertaining to the fortress.
人間の意識を宿したヒューマノイドオペレーティングマシン。人型軍事ロボット開発販売の権威。ネット上の知的生命体サブコンと唯一意思疎通が図れる共感覚能力の持ち主。それらがなぜザ・フォートレスに集まっているの？
キリね、仕事のしすぎ気にしすぎ。ザ・フォートレスなんてちょっとでっかいセクサロイドの召喚だし。
You wish, Ethica.
セクサロイド。そうか。東京メガフロートは生命都市。生命都市は生殖する。
Kiri multi-flicks rapidly, sifting through data. She slips into the military police's database, trying to find anything relevant. As files blitz through the screen, my gaze fixes on one of them.
これ。
I grab a video with the hand I'm wearing my Conry on. It's a recording of a battle, shown from the perspective of a military police officer. He's up against security robots, the same kind as the ones we faced off with within the quarry. And at the edge of the screen, I catch a glimpse of the commander, Kibanohara Hokuyasu, my old man.
ザ・フォートレスへの突入記録ね。
The video is presented in digest format. It doesn't follow the old man around or anything. Just depicts the battle. I was gonna say, like, if that was really the only meaning of the fortress, why would Hokuyasu want to invade that place? So that's why I was still very wary of Juichiro. Fine by me. Basking in sentimentality ain't the goal here. What I'm interested in is where they're fighting. Only part of the fortress's interior is used as a brothel. I personally imagined that most of the area would be dedicated to humanoid operating machine production factories. But the firefight between the military police and the security robots took place in
遊園地だよね。
The troops rushed through a 21st century wonderland, the kind you can only see in old footage now. The military police cut off the power, so the riots have all stopped moving. But it's clear they were in operation until just recently. And more than anything, there's a plethora of guests screaming as they attempt to flee.
あ、バカ！
Overcome by fear, a man and his family rush out from the bushes and right into the middle of the road. Both the military police and the security robots keep shooting, of course. A stray bullet strikes one of the children. The high-fidelity explosive shell hits him directly in the arm, but no blood sprays out. What instead flies into the air are mechanical parts.
機械？
Kiri hurriedly checks another file. She analyzes the footage from another soldier that invaded the fortress. The results are the same. What seem to be human visitors are in fact humanoid operating machines.
どういうこと？ザ・フォートレスでは機械が21世紀の遊園地を再現してた。
Juichiro basically wants to become a god, right?
何のために？
Kiri's confusion is perfectly understandable. I get that a rich person's hobbies might not make much sense from a commoner's point of view. A gigantic sextoid brothel is already a little out there. Still, sextoroids have a clear purpose at least. But giving humanoid operating machines a replica of a 21st century amusement park so they can pretend to be human? Not an idea that just anyone would, or could, come up with. Kiri glares at her Connery. She's received a message from Kazuma.
渚隊員、何かあったの？
阿蘇少佐、言われた通り見張ってたんだけど、東京湾に異変があったって。
異変？
東京湾の海底から何かが近づいてる。
I've got a bad feeling about this, and my instincts are usually right.
Juichiro!
イリア君でかしたね。よくやってくれた。
Amachi Juichiro stands in Iria and Subcon's way. The average person is incapable of accessing the highway. Even using synesthesia, the risk of one's consciousness dispersing makes communicating directly like this infeasible. It was Iria's ability to do that led to her being sought after by Empire Energy Corp. But Juichiro's are as clear as day, as if they were in a physical space. This is the first time he has exhibited any hint of such an ability.
さあ、サブコンを私に。
Iria was unable to get a handle on Juichiro in the real world, but here in the highway, emotions are simply another form of information. The hue of his emotions begin to seep into the surroundings.
サブコンを助けるのが目的じゃなかったの？
Duh!
もちろん助けたさ。
The light swarming around Amachi adopts a crimson tint. It forms itself into razor-sharp needles and rushes forth. Iria multi-flicks in the nick of time, creating a virtual environment to guard Subcon. Her shield stops the crimson needles in place.
心配しないで。私が絶対に守る。
The needles suddenly change their bearing. Iria shields Subcon with her body, countless needles stabbing into her. While unable to harm her real body, these needles are nonetheless deadly. Maintaining an individual consciousness in a virtual space such as the highway requires perceiving oneself as something akin to a physical being. Data spews forth from Iria like blood. The highway blazes past, and she feels her consciousness beginning to fade away. She desperately reaches out, but to no avail. Subcon escapes her grasp once more.
さあおいで。サブスタンスコンセプト。君は私と混じり合うのだ。
Yeah, he wants to become a god, I'm telling you. Once they merge, I think he can probably give consciousness to all the robots here, right? Iria is thrust back into the real world. The hollow glasses she was wearing are lying on the floor. She has to go back and save Subcon.
お茶の準備は無駄になってしまったようですね。
As Iria scrambles to pick up the hollow glasses, sorry Ayuka stops her.
イリアさん、逃げましょう。逃げるって。それは。
Turning around, they see security robots flooding into the room, guns drawn. The roar of gunfire fills the room, but the bullet fails to reach Iria. Ayuka stares silently ahead, a wall of smart material before her. The fortress is constructed entirely from smart material. Someone skilled with programming can easily manipulate its structure. Ayuka wordlessly bends a finger. Holes open beneath the robots, sending them plummeting helplessly beneath.
ここは危険です。ダメ。
Iria knows that her life is in danger, but still, she bends over to pick up the hollow glasses.
サブコンを助けないと。ハイウェイへの連続ドライブは危険です。分かってるよ。でもこ なままじゃ私またサブコンにひどいことしただけだ。
失礼します。
Ayuka forcibly pulls Iria's body away from the desk. She stumbles, but Ayuka swings her other hand, making the floor rise up and catch her. Ayuka assumes a sitting position in the air, moving her fingers like a pianist. Smart material rises up from the floor and changes shape, assuming the form of a pumpkin carriage. Iria sits trapped within it.
議論の暇はありません。行きましょう。
そんな
Iria's cry of objection is drowned out by the sound of gunfire from a new contingent of security robots. A thick layer of smart material rises up from the floor, blocking the shots. The bullets fall powerlessly to the floor, their kinetic energy absorbed by the soft wall.
捕まってください。
Ayuka points her finger toward the window. The carriage rolls through the room, out onto the balcony. It then goes over the railing, lurching out into the open air. Smart material extends outward to form an invisible bridge beneath it. The carriage crawls through the sky as if it were flying. Ayuka was the one who first taught Iria how to interact with the network. Her consciousness is constantly adjacent to the network. This allows her to exert more control over it than any human can. She's much more adept at controlling smart material than Iria is.
すみません。
Ayuka bows her head apologetically, blocking a new volley of gunfire she does.
私もサブコンを救いたい一心でした。寿一郎さんがハイウェイに入り込むことができるとは思わず。
Iria looks down at the chaos ensuing in the amusement park beneath her. The attractions are moving more violently than they should. The mechanical patrons seem to be moving more quickly as well. Juichiro once told her the entirety of this facility was the result of a research experiment. Iria expands the Condri's hologram and overlays a visual of data transfer on the park itself.
ここはただの遊園地じゃなかったんだ。
遊園地じゃない。
21世紀の遊園地は人間の情動を動かすために工夫を凝らした。生み出された機械の情報のネットワークは東京で人々が生み出したメッシュネットワークに極めて近い形をとる。
That familiar pattern. A miniature of Tokyo, oddly reminiscent of the neural network of a human brain.
まさか。でもしかし寿一郎さんはザ・フォートレスに機械を配置して人間の社会を再現しようとした。
そう、彼は自分の意識をザ・フォートレスのネットワーク上に再現した。人間の体を捨てて純粋な知能になるためにサブコンに近づくために。
Okay, I did not expect that. That's just creepy, dude. I thought he wants to be a god, but this is even creepier. Normal humans cannot enter the highway. The mesh network is analogous to the human brain, but upon closer inspection, its functions are quite different. Normally, one needs to use synesthesia medicine to compensate for that discrepancy. In other words, to forcibly rewrite their software. But Amachi Juichiro took a different approach. He took Soria Yuka in so that he could analyze how a human consciousness embedded in a machine worked. With this knowledge, he transferred his own consciousness into the fortress, a miniature model of the city. Instead of rewriting his software, he moved it to different hardware, allowing him to access the highway directly. Iria understands everything now. She was duped by Amachi Juichiro and blindly lured Subcon right into his hands. Restore Subcon's faith in mankind? Rescue her from her sunken prison? All she did was put her in even greater danger.
私のせいだ。みんな私のせいだったんだ。
So, does he like want to have sex with Subcon or something? Man, that guy is creepy. Kansu heaves a sigh, forehead dripping with sweat.
できた。
It's go time, son.
お疲れ様。
I gaze into the display opposite me, which displays my exposed brain. Normally, it should probably be a bit redder than this. It pulsates gently, gleaming with moisture. The three meningeal, there we go, layers that protect the brain, the scalp, the skull, and the meninges. All of them have been removed, from my forehead to the back of my head. Kansu cut away my dura and arachnoid matter with the upper portion of my skull, using a special gel to protect vital blood vessels. All that remains is the ultra-thin pia matter. Kansu inserts electrodes, cutting away the pia matter as necessary. These electrodes have special needles, specifically tuned to directly transmit my brain's electrical signals to an external machine. They will make contact with my X-brain when I'm wearing it, allowing them to transmit signals from my brain more efficiently. I feel no pain during the process, likely since the brain itself doesn't have any pain receptors. Or perhaps, it's simply because I'm already dead.
少し休もうか。
急いだ方がいい。
Besides the optical image, the display also shows a cross-section in a three-dimensional model of my brain, along with a map of the electric signals going through it. It's clear, even to me, that its activity is declining.
それじゃあ頼むよ。
わかった。
Kansu nods and picks my X-brain up off of the table. Its insides are coated with conductive gel, allowing it to receive the signals from the needles thrust into my brain. This should allow it to more accurately intercept the diminished activity of my brain. I gaze at the small bottle in my hand. Synesthesia, a drug that expands the five senses and jumbles them together, increasing one's capacity for data processing. Kansu always takes this when she has to drive into the highway. From what I understand, it's very powerful stuff. Repeated use can prove fatal. A lethal dose sounds about right for me. Gulping down the whole bottle, I accept my X-brain from Kansu. Putting it on feels different than it usually does. Maybe because my head is smaller than usual. Or maybe it's because the needles are stimulating my brain. My X-brain seems a bit confused at the unfamiliar sensation as well. Countless suggestions blot out my field of vision, and they're all somehow abnormal. Larger than usual, or smaller, or redder, or wider, or rounder, or more rectangular, or sweeter, or more painful, or louder. Electricity runs through me, and I don't mean that as a figure of speech. It's a literal stimulus being applied. My scattered consciousness converges on a single point.
これでどう？
ありがとう。落ち着いた。
Kansu externally manipulates my X-brain. My mind is still struggling to get used to the effects of synesthesia. She uses the electrodes embedded in my brain to calm things down. Outside stimulus, combined with the patterns etched into my external brain. The idea behind this experiment is to use synesthesia to restore my brain's neuroplasticity, and thereby awaken my dormant emotions.
いい？ X ブレインは直接ネットにあなたをつないでいる。深く潜ったら帰って来られなくなる可能性もある。
わかった。気をつける。
This is very much a drastic measure. There's no telling what might happen.
それじゃ上がるよ。
My vision is filled with a stream of rainbow-colored data, a model of the mesh network. Kansu enters the highway command. The data picks up speed. I've seen this deluge of information pass through Kansu's monitors several times, but I've never been able to keep up with it. Time to beat up Juichiro-san. This time, it's different. I perceive the flood of light as a space of sorts. I suppose I've entered a highway. What should be a meaningless stream of characters suddenly stimulates me like nothing as before. The flashing prismatic light interfaces directly with my brain. What is this color? I remember this emotion. When I was alive, I felt it all the time. I took it for granted. But what is it called? As lights rapidly flicker all around me, I try to recall the name of what I'm feeling. I'm so close to remembering. A surge of electricity courses through my mind. Sorrow. Yes, this is sorrow. The emotion bubbles up from the depths of my heart. I thought I was already experiencing sorrow. I believe my heart was flooded with it. At my own death. At my parting with Iria. But that was nothing compared to the vivid sorrow I've just regained. It feels wrong to even describe the two with the same word. My sorrow has been degraded this whole time. And I wasn't even capable of noticing it. The name of the person I want to see most slips from my lips. I calm myself and answer Konsu. The highway is founded on the emotions and activities of the populace of Tokyo. The tone of the highway shifts with their emotional state. By exposing my nerves directly to this flood of emotions, we can stimulate my dying brain. Dangerous, but I'm willing to accept that. I sense something out of place. It's very faint, something far off in the distance. But this is the highway. If I focus my consciousness on it, I'll be able to go there. Let's go, Son. Having confirmed that Iria is on her way back after retrieving Sefcon, Amachi Juichiro makes his way to the slave market. Countless sexoroids with ride seductively, waiting for their next customer.
こんばんは、アマチ様。ようこそおいでくださいました。お久しぶりです。今日はいかがいたしますか?
Juichiro strides past the sexoroids, even as they caress his chest and blow into his ears. He makes his way to a sofa at the back of the room.
ここが到達点だ。
He whispers. He's awaited this moment for so long.
アマチ様?
Before any of the sexoroids can reach the sofa, he takes a pistol out of his breast pocket and brings it to his head. He lifts the safety and then pulls the trigger. His head bursts. Amachi Juichiro's life comes to an end. No, only his body comes to an end, right? His career began developing military robots during the height of the Sino-American War. A skilled engineer, he was able to successfully innovate both in software and hardware, sending a string of increasingly sophisticated robots to the front line. But the situation of the war soon changed radically. The planet grew cold, and supplies grew scarce. Conserving weapons and ammunition became paramount for any country that wished to maintain a military presence. And so, a new breed of robot was born, the humanoid operating machine. These mechanical soldiers were nearly identical in physique to human soldiers, allowing them to use weaponry meant for humans. In the Sino-American War, where supplies were limited, they were of utmost value. Until necromancers appeared, and anti-living dead combat became the primary concern. The Sino-American War was known as the War of the Machines. And Juichiro was at the center of humanoid operating machine development. After the war, he independently formed Amachi Robotic Industries. He repurposed humanoid operating machine technology for civilian use, which garnered him great success. Mayor had decimated the population. The assistance of machines was not just welcome, but necessary. It is said that had it not been for Amachi Juichiro, mankind may well have gone extinct. Had the story ended there, Juichiro would have gone down in history as a genius engineer. However, for Juichiro, humanoid operating machines were but a means to an end. Using Amachi Robotic Industries' vast funds and his own personal connections, he purchased an abandoned mine on the Bay Coast. Using wreckage gathered from abandoned amusement parks, he constructed the fortress. And beneath it, he created what would go on to be called sexoroids. With a combination of humanoid operating machine technology and illegal human experimentation, he taught the sexoroid to behave ever more human. On the surface, this was all so he could provide the VIPs who patronized the fortress with tantalizing sexual experiences. But his true goal was to ascertain the nature of human consciousness itself. Juichiro watches through a sexoroid's camera as integrated circuits fly out of his head. The corpse lying on the floor of the slave market is in fact a recreation of his body in the form of a humanoid operating machine. A dialogue box pops up. There are plenty of spare bodies, perfect recreations of his flesh, stored in the walls of this room. By designating one as the master unit, a new Amachi Juichiro would descend upon the physical world with ease. Yeah, I kinda knew that was happening. But Juichiro rejects that idea. He has no attachment to the human world. No longer will he be confined by the limits of humanity. Amachi Juichiro's brain is currently located in the core of the fortress, linked directly to its network. The imitation network produced by the humanoid operating machines spread throughout the amusement park.
素晴らしい。感じるよ。とても近く感じる。
Oh, sorry. This system was completed just a few days ago. The fortress was designed as a model of the human brain from the beginning. Figuring out how to load a consciousness into it was the final task of the genius engineer, Amachi Juichiro. The one who made it possible was Kibanohara Hokuyasu. As he charged into the fortress, the sight of Soriyayuka stripped him of his will to fight, and subsequently, his life. And what he left behind, the X-brain on his head, provided the breakthrough Juichiro needed. Man, Hokuyasu, why you gotta do that? You could have just fucking killed this guy. X-brains expand a human consciousness to external devices. Using this technology as a basis, it could be possible to transfer one's consciousness to a digital network. So he basically got that inspiration that Sue got. Juichiro's theory was proven correct. The tank containing Juichiro's brain reads its electrical signals with high precision, transmitting signals from the network back to him. His consciousness exceeds the confines of his brain, expanding through the fortress. At this point, Amachi Juichiro is already partially outside the category of what can be called a human being. But only partially so, it still isn't enough. His thought patterns are still limited to that of a human. He needs to undergo an intense experience of some sort, something that will irrevocably alter him. And that experience is almost at hand.
はじめまして、サブコン。
Of course, Iria is surprised. Not even Soriyayuka was aware that the fortress's network was a receptacle for Amachi Juichiro's consciousness. Only a single cable extends from the fortress to the sunken Tokyo megafloat, where the core of Subcon's consciousness is trapped. Unless she passes through part of Juichiro's body, she will not be able to connect to Tokyo's mesh network.
イリア君、でかしたね。よくやってくれた。さあ、サブコンを私に。
サブコンを助けるのが目的じゃなかったの？
もちろん助けたさ。
There is a strong bond between Hogyo Iria and Subcon. Iria was necessary as bait to lure Subcon out of the depths of Tokyo Bay. But now that Subcon has been brought this far, Iria has served her purpose. Iria's enhanced empathy is nothing to scoff at. No normal human could interact with the highway the way she does. However, she still possesses a physical body, and her presence here is based on that. Having cast away his body, Juichiro's affinity with the highway is orders of magnitude greater. Piercing Iria's back with needles form of sheer enmity, a simple task for him now. Iria extends her hand, but to no avail. She's unable to keep up with the highway's speed, and distance begins to form between her and Subcon.
さあ降りてサブスタンスコンセプト君は私と混じり合うのだよ
Iria disappears into the network. As Subcon curiously watches her disappear, Juichiro moves in front of her.
私の言葉が聞こえるだろう
He asks, his voice dripping with saccharine sweetness. He tries to touch her directly, but Subcon's entire body fades. Juichiro simply passes through her. Subcon sets off in search of Iria, following in the direction of her rapidly fading data. But Juichiro does not give up. Subcon scans the area, but from every direction, she's boxed in by Juichiro's grinning face.
あゆかくんという機械ベースの人工知能を手に入れたのもサブコンとコミュニケーションできるイリア君を保護したのも前世紀の遊園地を再現し東京のネットワークのミニチュアを作ったのも全ては私の最終目標のため人間を超えた知性体になるため必要なのはただ一つ君と混じり合うこと人類が DNA を掛け合わせてエリスプレタ種へと進化したように我々も混じることで重なることで新たな知性を獲得できるできるできる
Countless faces close in on Subcon, urging her to unite with them. She has nowhere to run. The massive information Juichiro extends toward her threatens to press down on her, to crush her. But even so, Subcon's emotions don't waver.
今はどこ
She asks, her tone flat.
彼女は用済みだ
用済み歌は
歌
今は私の歌を聞けないの
そうだがそれがどうしたイリア君など所詮ただの人間
The prismatic aura converges, becoming a massive white light. It blows away Juichiro's copies. Subcon's intense will turns to power, consuming the virtual space around her. The highway begins to expand. Juichiro gazes up at Subcon, who has grown to enormous size. It's as if she's putting on one of her performances.
サブスタンスコンセプト君はやはり素晴らしい人間を超越した知性世界を変える礎 さあ私と一緒に
Subcon's massive hand grabs onto Juichiro. Within the highway, one's body is but a metaphor of sorts, detached from their physical existence. But Juichiro has discarded his physical body. This metaphor is all he has. Her massive eyes contain nary a trace of emotion. She simply closes her hand around Juichiro, crushing him. Wait, that's it? You're dead?
今を悲しませる人間は許さない
This isn't a union. It is predation. Juichiro's existence is erased from the highway. But Subcon's attack affects more than just cyberspace. Yeah, he still technically has a physical body, which is just his brain. A disturbance at Tokyo Bay. After hearing Kazuma's report, we immediately got on the move. We're currently riding in a military police strider prepared for us at the Hibiya garrison, a gray chameleon. Wait, does that mean that, you know, Subcon's gonna erase the whole of humanity or something right now? Because of what Juichiro did? We zoomed down the highway, making our way to the Bay Area. I think that's what's gonna happen. What the fuck? Holy shit, that was loud. A mass of some sort has risen forth from the dark waters of the sea. It's like a monolith with the edges sanded down. If I really had to describe it, pulsating dusky red lines run all across it. Water foams as the monolith towers over the sea. My ears! Holy moly, my ears. And assaults the walls of the fortress. The shockwave produces a massive wave, as the ramparts of sturdy, elastic, smart material are reduced to rubble. The X-Brain presents me with an explanation. Live material? Oh, that must be the Tokyo Megafloat. The material used to build the Tokyo Megafloat. The same Megafloat that sank to the bottom of the Tokyo Bay.
何が起こってんだ？
わからないよ。東京湾を見てたのも前に山沼さんから忠告されてたからだし、とにかくここで渚隊たちの応援を待つ。待って!
I shout as the strider begins to slow down. Complying with my X-Brain's instructions, I zoom in with my hologlasses. As the black mass slams against the fortress again and again, I spot something coming from beyond the crumbling white walls. Kiri hurriedly displays a magnified still on the windshield. A pumpkin-like carriage proceeds through the air, as if running along an invisible track. Kiri gazes at the screen wordlessly, because she saw her mom. She's transfixed, not by Iria, but by the woman sitting opposite her. Kiri switches to manual driving and accelerates. Passing by a public taxi that's pulled over because of the danger, our strider rushes into the fortress. The black mass slams against the walls of the castle again and again. They've already begun to collapse in places. We advance in the same amusement park as I saw in the video earlier. It's not exactly a magical wonderland anymore, though. The lighting flickers so bright it borders on blinding. The roller coasters have derailed, and the teacups rotate fast enough to send those sitting on them flying. The shockwaves from the attack likely threw the park's control system into a state of chaos. What's most distressing is how the visitors are reacting. or not reacting as the case may be. Maybe they're mistaking the situation for some kind of attraction. Even as they're thrown off rides and reduced to broken heaps, they continue smiling. Some of them crawl along the ground, apparently trying to continue with their routine. Not quite the same as the footage I saw earlier, but just as eerie. The carriage in the sky begins to lose altitude. The smart material supporting it crumbles more quickly than it can be rebuilt. Frankly, we can't afford to be worrying about robots right now. The Strider sends dolls flying left and right as it barrels through the amusement park in pursuit of Iria. But the smart material bridge beneath the pumpkin carriage whips back and forth, eventually breaking apart completely, along with the carriage itself. Iria and Ayuka are sent flying into the air. The Strider jumps over a hedge and makes for their projected landing spot, knocking aside a group of security robots in the process. There's a pile of smart material in the middle of the plaza. I don't have time to deal with you fuckers right now. As I pick her up, the smart material beneath her crumbles into dust. She's only still alive because it cushioned the impact of the fall. I check Yuri's vitals with my Conry. It doesn't detect anything major, but she's visibly pale.
彼女を車へ。そりゃよか。どうして逃がすの？私はイリアさんの味方です。彼女をサブコンに引き合わせるには他に方法がなかった。
Sorry Ayuka had abducted Iria once before. Can I trust her? Even if she does have Kiri's mom's, Aso Yukari's consciousness? But as I grapple with that question, the sound of gunfire booms around us. Can't you see I'm busy over here? I drop to the ground and cover Iria with my body, prepared to take some damage if I have to. But walls of smart material rise up and block the bullets headed for us. I crane my neck back, finding Ayuka glaring into space, her expression stern. She must have created those walls. A human would need to input a multi-flick to do that, but she's an android.
早く言ってください。あなたもよ。私はここで食い止めます。ダメ。キリネが待ってる。いえ。あんたには責任がある。
Her sigh is tinged with doubt and sorrow. More human than I am at this point. But contemplating the nature of human consciousness can wait. I pick up Iria. It's usually the prince's job to whisk the princess away, but she'll have to make do with a stand-in for now. I push Iria inside and hand her off to Kiri. All that's left is... Ayuka boards the Strider without further hesitation. If the video Kurashima Michiya sent us is to be believed, then she's technically Kiri's mom. And honestly, I'd love to give them some time to catch up, but... The fortress's walls finally give up the ghost, collapsing into heaps of rubble before our eyes. My ears! The black mass, now unimpeded, surges forth into the park's interior. It's almost like watching magma spewing forth from an undersea volcano. Now that I get a closer look, the pulsating veins running through the mass are an all too familiar color. Dusky red, the hue of death. A mountainous appendage slams into the ground with monumental force. Smart material debris rains down upon the Strider's armor. What's left of the walls completely disintegrates, merging with the dusky red magma into a viscous liquid. The smart material forming the roof of the fortress begins to crumble. Artificial stars blink out of existence as the holographic night sky breaks apart. Kiri's quick to judge the situation. The Strider accelerates, racing through the nightmarish wonderland.
キリネ早く分かってる
The dusky red magma closes in on us from behind. The attractions, the humanoid operating machine visitors, the security robots still firing their guns. They're all being swept away by the magma. It's not simply flowing from high ground to low ground, but moving of its own accord, seeking to consume the fortress. The Strider knocks away all enemies in its path as it weaves through the park. Right up ahead, it gets up on one wheel and narrowly streaks past. When it's time for a sharp turn, it literally kicks off a wall. Kiri's driving skills are impressive. I'm not sure if I'd be able to pull off these kinds of stunts, even with support from my X-Brain. But the dusky red torrent proves inescapable. It rushes toward us, growing ever faster as it absorbs everything in its path. The feed on the monitor goes completely black. The Strider's real wheels let out a dull sound. It's got our left leg. Fuck this! I let loose my MK-48. Dusky red fluid spurts out of the holes my bullet makes in the mass. Just like when shooting a living dead. But no matter how much I fire at it, the enemy doesn't so much as flinch.
じゃこいつだ
I fire a canister shell at it, but it's just as ineffective. Shrapnel pelts its skin, sending red sparks flying, but the blob doesn't slow down in the slightest. Of course it doesn't. It's a living dead. Well, shit. This is bad. Another impact jolts the Strider. It's caught us by our right belt.
このままじゃ
借ります
Ayuka touches her fingertip to a connector and stares blankly into space. Complete stillness. She sits frozen, directing all of her computing power inwards. The next moment, the vehicle's laser floodlight flickers to life. She's taken control of it.
おい何やってる
The Strider abruptly accelerates. We've escaped the mass's hold on us. The fortress's walls are stone's throw away. Kiri leans the Strider forward, putting the engine into high gear. This is the moment of truth. But I can't help but ask,
今何したの
スマートマテリアルは素材自体が情報を記録します外部からの意味のある情報を受け取ればそれに応じた反射行動をとる全体の動きは止めようもありませんが一時しのぎにはなります
according to my X-Brain, the blob, wave, whatever it is chasing us is made from life material, a type of smart material. So I guess she induced an involuntary response by using the laser floodlight to send an optical signal. Or something. Maybe it's like getting someone to squirm by tickling them. Feels more like magic than hacking if you ask me. And more importantly, is that black blob really the sunken Tokyo Megafloat? Suddenly, the noise from outside gets louder. I tilt my head up. The hatch is open, and Iria is leaning out of it. She must have woken up without me noticing it.
イリアちゃん何やってるのごめん
I try to catch her by the leg, but she escapes. I clamber through the hatch after her. Wind beats against my face as I chase after Iria atop the roof of the Strider. A shiver runs down my spine. No, don't. Don't make that face. That's not you.
ごめんねエチカ私みんなを傷つけてばかりだからいなくなった方がいいんだ
Someone's not gonna let that happen, Iria.
イリアちゃん
He's monitoring this area as we speak. On the highway. You brought joy into our lives. You being here has meaning. Don't you understand, Iria? My hand reaches out. Every remaining ember of emotion in my heart flares up. Please. Please. But it's not enough. She's too far. Iria's body dances through the air. And in the blink of an eye, she's consumed by the raging wave of death.
キリネ止めてダメよ捕まるわでも
Kiri's in the right here. If we slow down even a little, we'll be swept up in the wave. Forget about trying to save anyone then. And besides, even if I jumped in after her, there's no chance of finding Iria inside of that massive thing. I get it. I really do.
いちかさん、気を確かに。
We could have saved Iria. We almost did. But in the end, she rejected us. She rejected salvation. If I were still alive, would I have dived in after her?
エチカ、今ザ・フォートレスにいるの？
Since she's asking us that, she's probably aware of the general situation. It's hard to respond. If I could just run away right now, I would. Why did things end up like this? The regret washes over me. But
ソウンはいる。
実験中。
話せる。
少しなら。
I feel like I need to let him know. That's the least I can do to close the book on this. Damn it, Son! Olga gazes at Amachi Juichiro's brain, suspended within the tank. This is all that remains of the genius that founded Amachi Robotic Industries and built the giant facility known as the Fortress. He failed to subjugate Substance Concept, to bend her to his will. What's the look on his face right now, she wonders. Using her Conry, Olga projects a hologram of Juichiro's face.
気分はどう？
オルガ助けてくれ。金は出す。だから私に体を。
あら、こっちの世界には帰らないつもりだったんじゃないの？そのつもりで体も破壊したんでしょ？
まさか私のスペアを破壊したのは。
Juichiro's spare bodies lie strewn across the floor, reduced to little more than scrap metal. He has nowhere to transplant his consciousness to.
この部屋、誰にも知られてないと思ったのよね。いくらひいきの商売相手だからって油断しすぎじゃないかしら。それとも私と過ごした夜が忘れられなかった？
貴様。
Juichiro's voice trembles with rage. I see that typo. But he is utterly powerless now.
システムが完成したのはつい最近よね。でもその頃サブコンは海底へと沈められたまま外部との交渉を絶っていた。海底ケーブルを引いてコンタクトを取ったけど相手にされなかったんでしょ。
貴様そこまで。
Yeah, who are you, Olga?
当然よね。一番信頼していたイリアに裏切られたんだから。ましてあなたの言葉なんて信じるわけがない。サブコンをあの海底から引っ張り上げるには裏切りの原因を作った張本人宝行イリアとの和解が必要だった。あなたは甘い言葉で彼女を利用していたつもりだったんでしょ。利用されていたのはあなたも同じ。
What? Again? By you this time or what?
あなたのおかげでサブコンは人間を信じられなくなった。期待通りね。
What the fuck? Who are you?
期待通りだぞ。
そろそろ時間みたいね。
Part of the laboratory, huh? Part of suicide wannabes, most likely. The destruction has begun. A black wave can be seen surging over the ramparts through the window. This is what has become of the life material in the depths of Tokyo Bay.
私は拷問をしてきたわ。数えきれないほどの人を数えきれないほどの方法で殺してきた。それを見るのが楽しかった。でもこういう死に際を見るのは初めてね。
As she watches Juichiro's face crumble away, Olga smirks. Juichiro's consciousness exists on the humanoid operating machine network spread throughout the fortress. As such, the fortress's destruction can be likened to sticking one's hand directly into his brain and tearing out his gray matter piece by piece.
貴様スーサイド罠水か
Most likely, that's my conclusion too.
リビングデッドのエネルギー源は何か知っている？
Lemurs,
感
right?
情よ。
I guess the rumor was true?
レムレースは感情をエネルギーに変換してリビングデッドの体を動かす。初期のリビングデッドにわずかに感情が残っているのはその変換効率がまだ低いから。
そんなものあまりにも
Who thought he was done? Juichiro's speech is disjointed.
科学的な
Damn it, I thought you were done, my dude. Juichiro's speech is disjointed. His consciousness has begun to break apart.
そうかもしれないね。所詮は経験則よ。でもそう考えるといろいろなものの辻褄が合う。世界で最も絶望に満ち溢れた米中戦争からネクロマンシーが誕生したなんてとても素敵でしょ。
Beautiful my ass.
あのスマートマテリアルを駆動させるのは絶望。絶望が世界を飲み込むの。
Who are you? Junko Enoshima?
それがミルグラムが最後に残したネクロポリス計画。
You good? You good, Juichiro? With that final noise-ridden statement, Juichiro falls silent. His face blinks out of existence. There are no longer enough nodes to maintain his consciousness. His brain sits motionlessly within the tank. It too will not last much longer. The life material washing over the fortress has turned its white walls dusky red. It won't be long before the castle itself is consumed. The floor trembles.
さあサブコン、どんどん人類に絶望なさい。
Olga activates micro-robots she had on standby. Using the mesh network, they send footage of the event to leading media outlets. The door begins to warp. The room is at its limit. Olga makes no attempt to escape. His plan has already come to fruition. Fucking Milgram. Even in death, you're still haunting us. Olga whispers softly to herself as the black wave rushes into the room, consuming everything inside. Son! Come on, man! Do something! The highway is a maelstrom of emotion. Warm, happy, red, loud, ticklish, bright, painful, sweet, chilly, cold, fun, sad, white, black, spicy, salty, painful, itchy, dark, scary. Countless sensations blow past, stimulating my own emotions as they come in contact with me. It happens too quickly to put a name to each of them individually. If I don't stay focused, I could easily be swept away by the flood of emotions. I can't afford to let that happen. I can't afford to let go of the one thing I have left. The one thing that truly matters. Iria. I turn my thoughts to her, bracing my soul against the deluge of emotions. Kansu calls from outside the highway.
どうだ
Ethica's voice is transmitted directly into my head.
スマートマテリアルに飲み込まれてイリアちゃん取り戻し損ねてそれで
Ethica can't finish that sentence. Instead, she sends me visual data. I touch it with my fingertips and feel everything that happened. The prismatic flow of the highway suddenly picks up in speed. My vision flickers wildly, and it feels like my consciousness is being throttled around. This must be because of my surprise, or perhaps my sorrow, or my anger. I think of Iria. Within the highway, where thoughts and feelings reign supreme, what matters most is the sheer strength of one's emotion. Vividly, intensely, I recall everything about her. Her small body, her evocative eyes, her fair lips and cheerful smile, her disproportionately large breasts. Of course you would say that, Zone. Hagyo Iria, my special someone.
いいよまだ生きてる
でもイリアちゃんは
気配がする
Only very, very faintly, but I can. The very sensation of Iria, her scent, her voice, the particles composing her. I know she's there. The highway is an index of data. A vast amount of information is accumulated on the mesh network. Any attempt to sift through it all would only end in drowning in this vast sea of information. To access a given piece of information quickly, one must rely on intuition. Just as countless subconscious calculations form the basis for our own thoughts and actions, the mesh network is predicated on constant, rapid information processing performed at a subconscious level. In that sense, the highway acts as an X-brain for the mesh network, in that it allows you to skip the search process and jump directly to the results you desire. I pull the information I need from the vast, churning sea of the mesh network. This sets off a chain reaction, gathering related information from all across the highway. Some of it is fragmented, some of it is password protected, but it all has a place. It all comes together. I am able to intuit a narrative of sorts. The living city that is the Tokyo Megafloat, and substance concept trapped within its core. The act of necromancy which Milgram conducted on the living city. Iria returning to the fortress to save Subcon, and Amachi Drichura's goal.
十一郎さんはサブコンとの同一化を狙っていました。
And he was likely rejected. Has Subcon lost her patience with mankind? Have we sent her into despair? That much, I can't tell. But she would never kill Iria. Everything connects. I integrate all the information into one. It forms a thread, stretching through time and space, across planes imperceptible to humans. A long, thin, and yet sturdy thread. It will lead me to Iria. How did Tokitaka call it again? The red string of fate. I'll conceptualize it as that. That which binds us, the invisible connection which transcends all obstacles. Holding tight onto it, I accelerate further. An electric jolt surges through my mind, a warning from my X-brain. I'm already dead. Sue, this is fine. I know that. Right now, my brain is linked to the highway. And the more dependent my mind grows on the highway, the more the core of my consciousness becomes incapable of remaining in my body. In exchange for the ability to process all data instantaneously, I will lose myself. Am I okay with that?
ごめんね、エチカ。
いいから中に。
私、みんなを傷つけてばかりだから、いなくなった方がいいんだ。
イリアちゃん。
Ethica's hollow glasses recorded Iria jumping from the roof of the Strider. Her hand failed to reach Iria, but perhaps mine can. If it requires casting aside everything that I am, everything that remains, then so be it. I've made my peace.
コズ 今までありがとう。
I can sense her bowing her head.
約束する。
My response is firm.
絶対にイリアを取り戻す。
This is the highway. Here, will is power. Putting it into words reinforces my will. I grow ever faster. My will spills forth from my X-brain, taking root in the mesh network. My body expands. No more limits. I pull on the thread, bringing myself ever closer to Iria. This is my will. This is my reason to live. Iria jumps off the strider. The black wave swallows her. A soft sensation envelops her body. The smart material clings to her every contour. It covers her hair and creeps inside her clothes. It fills her throat and lungs, but she does not cough. There is no fear, only relief. Iria's consciousness sinks into a pleasant darkness. And she finds herself there once again. Moonlight Shores. The place she once so yearned to visit. How many times has she viewed this scenery?
サブコンいる？
A section of Midnight Shores flickers and sways. From there, Subcon appears, space warping around her. She says nothing. She simply stands at Iria's side. For now, just that is enough.
ごめんなさい。君を危険な目に遭わせて。
A second time, Iria.
危険
私もう何もしないから。
She said she's not gonna do anything anymore.
もう何も。そうしたら
Oh, sorry, I thought she was done.
もう君も傷つけなくて済む。
It's safe here. She won't have to interact with anyone. Living is about hurting people, though, Iria. We hurt people just by living. But we learn from that, so we don't hurt anymore. Doesn't mean we should stop living. She can simply gaze at the Midnight Shores silently, forever. Solitude has long been her companion. It will be no different from when she was held in the fortress. Subcon too will ask nothing of Iria. All she will do is quietly fade away. Suddenly, a faint, violet light flashes out on the sea. That's the direction Tokyo is in.
悲しい怖い不安そういうことはたくさんあるそれはいいこと
They can be good things.
全然良くない。全部なくなっちゃえばいい。
People can't grow if all they feel is happy emotions, Iria. The days she spent with Son and the others were truly fulfilling. She saw so many things, touched so many new things, tried so many new things. Ryoko's cooking was delicious. Just having the opportunity to eat it was something she wouldn't trade for anything in the world. But all of this came with a price. Because Iria ran away from the fortress, Son, Ethica, Ryoko, they all had to die. It's too much to bear. How can she go on knowing that? Why then does she still feel a tug? It is weak, but impossible to ignore. It's as if someone is standing right next to her, gazing down at her face. She can feel herself being pulled toward them. by a red string tied around her pinky finger.
なんで
Hope inevitably leads only to despair. She knows that all too well.
どうしてこんなことするの？こんな意図とかそんなことする性格じゃなかったじゃない。
Iria's resolve begins to crumble. She collapses on the shore.
いいよ、もういいよ。私にはもうこういうのそんな資格ないよ。
Other people will be the one to judge your worth, Iria, not you yourself. Because we cannot be objective with ourselves. A hand grips Iria's shoulder. It belongs to Subcon, as expressionless as ever.
イリア悲しい悲しみは消す
The space around Subcon begins to warp and distort. Before Iria can say another word, she is gone. Let's face off against Subcon, Zone. You can't stop us, Subcon.